Welcome to the High School Preview Show presented by Gold Athletics. I'm your host, John Sarianides. And as always, I'm joined by my partner, Mukala Kabongo. Tyler Amaral is off tonight. He is not going to be with us. So you'll have me and Mukala. Mukala, how are you this evening?
I'm good. I'm good. It's starting to get a little cold out, but the games have been good. The games have been good.
They have. And I got to be honest with you. You mentioned it's getting a little cold out. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not going to lie, man. It's because we've now entered the phase where the last couple of weeks you've been able to get away with a sweatshirt. Now it's like you need
Yeah,
more than that. You know,
yeah.
yeah,
This is the point of the season where I'm ready for basketball season. So
yeah. I bet you
we're at
want that
that point.
warm gym. I don't blame you.
Right.
Before we get started here, I do want to let you guys know that we are brought to you by Gold Athletics, winter and spring coaches. Are you looking for a fundraiser that can help you generate money and it can be a fun, engaging fundraiser for your community? Well, visit goldathletics.com. Matt Ross and his team have a variety of fundraisers that they can cater to your program, your community, your school. Visit goldathletics.com today for more information. All right, Mukala, we've got a great slate of games this weekend, and we're entering that time of the year now where the ante is up, right? Like
Yeah.
the stakes are higher. Playoff, you've got leagues that are on the line, playoff
Right.
seeding on the line. A lot
Yeah.
goes into these games this weekend and next week. The implications are massive. And the first matchup we're going to take a look at here is an old school traditional Hockomock League matchup starting here in Massachusetts with the Mansfield Hornets visiting the North Attleboro Red Rocketeers. Obviously, the Davenport side of the Hockomock League could be potentially at stake with this game, but also playoff seeding in Division III. This should be a really good matchup between these two longtime ancient rivals.
Yeah. Well, I think we're gonna be fans who attend this game are gonna be treated to an old school Hockomock League game. Very physical. Very run dominant. Both of these teams they like to dominate the run and time of possession. So North Attleboro, I always say I said this last week that this is the time when they're playing their best football. And you going into the game against Canton, weren't too sure if they were going to come out with the win, but they showed that they were still North Attleboro in the way they dominated that game. Mansfield, they've been playing really well as well. Uh, they've got aspirations to get to Gillette again, and this is one of those flip a coin. You might if you're not sure who to pick, but as I always put myself whenever I'm in this situation, I go with the home team. I'll go with North Attleboro in this one.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good game. Mansfield has been without quarterback Tommy Villette for the last few weeks. Gio Scarpolini has stepped up, I should say, and done a great job there for the Hornets. You also have a dynamic running game here. Mason Baderi is really emerging as an elite level back for Mansfield. Ramari Fernandez in that defense playing some pretty good football as well. Mansfield is well coached. We know they played a tough schedule to start the season. They've rebounded nicely the last couple of weeks. This North Attleboro team, of course, if we remember last year in the Division III Super Bowl, beat Mansfield 35-0. That was predominantly a senior-laden team, but the underclassmen on that team that played are leading the way this year for this North Attleboro team. It's a really good football team. They're starting to hit their stride. I think this is going to be a really good matchup, evenly matched type of game. Mansfield will have revenge on their mind for last year, and they're going to want to get into a position where they can win the Davenport. I'm going to go with North Attleboro here, though. I think Frankie Strachan and company have a little bit more. I think it's going to be a tight game, potentially a 20-14 kind of game. But I'm going to go with the Red Rocketeers here. Here's the thing. I think the passing game would matter in this game, but with the quarterback situation being what it is for Mansfield, I don't know if Mansfield can generate enough big plays in the passing game to be the difference. I think it's going to be a back-and-forth affair, but I like North Attleboro. Next up, we have a key MVC matchup with Andover coming off a big win over Pinkerton Academy, traveling to Central Catholic. Red Raiders coming off a bye. Should be a really, really good matchup. Jay Fielding's squad picking up a big win last week in New Hampshire. Central Catholic coming off a tough loss a couple of weeks ago to Methuen. But this is another one of those rivalry games. It's an MVC rivalry game. Should be a really good matchup.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a good one. We actually, on the radio on Sunday, we talked to Coach Fielding about their start and about the win. He's very fired up, and he knows, like as he always says, like any coach always says, they got a lot more to improve on from that. But it was a big time road win for them, going up there in New Hampshire, a tough
Huge.
environment to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made all the big plays in a one score game to come out, so they got the momentum. Central Catholic, they had momentum, then the momentum kind of seized after the Methuen loss, previously being Zavarian. So I think that bye week, maybe they kind of probably worked on things. But with me, with Central Catholic, they've been up and down.
Yeah.
They haven't put together a winning streak. It's like win one, win one, lose one, and this is the last 2 weeks of the season. So they're going to try to close the season out, trying to win these next two games to close the season out. So I this is a tough one, but I think Central Catholic will just pull this one out. Even though Andover is going to give them a tough matchup, but I think they will squeak one out.
Yeah, I do think this is a tough matchup for Central Catholic, but I do agree with you. They've had 2 weeks to prepare, which does matter. And we know that this is a well-coached program. John Sexton and the staff do a really nice job. Again, just like that Mansfield-North Attleboro game, I think it's going to be a close game, but I like Central Catholic here as well, pulling it out in the fourth quarter, winning it, and picking up a big win against an Andover team that both of these teams are programs to keep an eye on in the playoffs in
Yeah.
Division One as
Yes.
programs that could potentially make some noise.
The quarterback matchup in this one is really good too. These two
Yeah.
quarterbacks have really been playing well.
Yep, absolutely. All right, next up, we're going to stay. Actually, I should say we're not going to stay. We're going to come back south. We got a big interstate matchup. This is the interstate game of the week. We're going to be there for this one on Friday night, rather. Barnstable traveling to Providence to take on LaSalle Academy. Rams coming off a big win over St. Ray's last week, a statement win for Dan Copeland's squad. Barnstable coming off a big win over Dartmouth. Barnstable, in a lot of ways, Mukala's flying under the radar, but I think a lot of people are starting to come around to Ross Jatcola's program, and they're starting to say to themselves, you know what? This is a team that could potentially be a factor in Division Three. Division Three, of course, as you know, is loaded with quality teams. You got King Philip, you got Barnstable, Mansfield, Milford, North, Milton. It's stacked, especially at the top. Of course, last year, this was a really good game, a back-and-forth game. LaSalle was able to go on the road and win it. Does Barnstable turn the table on the Rams this year and return the favor in Providence?
Is this LaSalle's third Massachusetts team opponent this season?
They played BC High, St. John's Prep, and now Barnstable.
Yeah, now Barnstable. Yeah, that's another. And they're so far they're 1-1. They're fair. St. John's Prep they're playing on another level. So losing to them, but they showed fight in that one. I really like the receiver Antonio Bearden in that one. He's going to be a guy to watch out for.
Samuel Perry's starting to play well for them at quarterback.
Yep, and he's going to be a guy to watch out for because it seems like in these games he's ready for the moment to make big plays. But I think Barnstable, I agree with you. They definitely want to go down there and get a little payback and also give themselves some type of good feeling as they get ready for the postseason because they are having a really good season. They're, as you said, flying under the radar. A lot of people have really been talking about the type of season they have. So granted for them the drive isn't too far, but I think they'll pull this one out. I think they're gonna go down there and pull this one out.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Kyle Coffin, Jason Dyer, explosive offense. Defense highly underrated as well. They've been playing good D all year. Jatcola's been building up until this point. This is a group that he has been looking forward to, and his staff have been looking forward to coaching the last couple of years. These guys have really matured now. They're hitting their stride. Look, LaSalle's a good program. And if you said to me Friday night at 10 o'clock that LaSalle won this game, no disrespect to Barnstable, I would not be surprised. And that's because I think this LaSalle team is good. But I think at the end of the day, this Barnstable team is good. They picked up a couple of statement wins here the last couple of weeks against Milford, Dartmouth, now LaSalle. I think they go down there and they get it done. They stay undefeated, setting up a big game next week against Bridgewater Raynham. We're going to go back to the Hawkmock League.
That'll play a role too. Yeah, that'll play a role too. You want to go into that game, not have a letdown in this one going into that game, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's going to be a big game for them. And especially, again, like we talked about to open the show, when you're talking about playoff seeding this time of year, I mean, these next 2 weeks are huge. And for them, right now, they're the 2 seed in D3. They need to keep pace with King Philip, because if King Philip, we're going to talk about next, were to somehow trip up on Friday night at home against Milford, now that opens the door potentially for Barnstable to get that 1 seed. And as I mentioned, we are going to go back to the Hockomock League here.
Yeah.
Milford at King Philip. This is one of those matchups that's become a really good rivalry in recent years. KP coming off a big 35-7 win over Taunton. Milford coming off a win over Attleboro. Milford is 4-2. They've got a couple of tough losses. They don't have great numbers, but they're well coached. They have a talented team, a team that is certainly good enough to go on the road and potentially win this game. King Philip's had their number in recent years, but as we've seen with this Milford team in the past, Mukala, they're well equipped to go on the road and really beat anybody in D3 if they come to play.
Yeah, definitely. But the thing about King Philip, that once again, this is another team in the Hockomock. It's that time of the year where they really start getting things going, and that offensive line took over the game against Taunton. They really showed their strength, and that running game is hard to stop. It's in October, November, that running game is hard to stop. And as you said, Milford don't have the numbers, so those guys are going to be tired. They're going to wear them out, and I think that's just going to play a factor late in the game. They might fight with them early on, but I think as the game progresses, you'll just see that offensive line of King Philip taking over, and then you'll see that dominant running game of King Philip that we normally see this time of the year.
Milford needs to get off to a fast start. They were able to do it in the matchup last year. Didn't last long, though. They need to be able to do it again this year. But the other thing is, to your point about the physicality of that King Philip running game, Milford needs to prove that they can hold up front. They haven't been able to do that this year. They've struggled to stop the run. That's going to be the key. If they could figure out a way to slow down this vaunted King Philip running game, they have a chance. If they don't, they're in for a long night.
And with King Philip too, those backs, they got a good rotation.
They have 4 backs now, not even including their fullbacks. They have 6 backs that they can throw at you, and that makes them tough to defend.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, next up, we're going to go back north of the city of Boston. We got a big matchup, Marblehead at Masconomet. Fascinating matchup here between two teams that are talented, playing some really good football. Of course, the Magicians coming into this one undefeated. Masco has 1 loss, but running back Jack Fabiano's been running all over everybody. This should be a really good matchup between two programs that, again, key theme this week, playoff seeding and positioning. Both of these programs need this game in order to improve their positioning heading into the playoffs.
And Masco's lone loss, I believe, is to Winchester, a team that's just been high flying all year.
That people are now starting to see them as a generational team this year.
Yes, but this Marblehead team, quarterback Finn Gallup, Owen Crow, those guys, the way their offense works is methodical. They'll get the big plays here and there, but they're a very methodical offense. And the last time they were in a situation like this in a big game on the road, they came out and they set the tone and came out with the victory when they defeated Beverly on a Saturday morning. I think this might be one of those same things too. They're going to come in there with a lot of confidence. This might be a game that'll go back and forth for a little bit, and I think in the second half, Marblehead will pull away and try to make a statement, because I think this is a state championship contending team. Marblehead. I've seen enough from them this season, and I think they're gonna make a statement with this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think so too. I mean, Finn Gallup has been terrific for them. You mentioned him. Look, one thing we could say about Marblehead through the years, they're going to score points. Offensively, they're going to be really good. They're well coached. I think this is going to be a close game because I think Masco is going to be able to run the football, and they're going to limit those possessions, and that's going to keep them in the game. But if Marblehead up front can hold up against Fabiano in that running game, and they can protect Gallup, I think that Marblehead wins this game. I think they're going to be able to do just enough along the line of scrimmage to put the Magicians in position to win this one. I could see this being a high-scoring affair, a 35-28 kind of game, maybe even a 35-31 kind of game. But I'm leaning Marblehead here in what should be a terrific, terrific matchup. All right, we're going to come back to Metro West here for another great game, a heavyweight bout, if you will. Bishop Fian at Franklin. Of course, Fian, one of the best teams in Division II, led by quarterback Owen Mortis. They've been really good this year. Kane Mankins anchoring that defense. Franklin starting to play some really good football the last few weeks. They've won a few in a row here. They're starting to hit their stride. Todd Kiley and his staff doing a great job with the Panthers. On paper, I think if you had asked me a month ago, how would this game play out, I would have said 35-7 Fian. But I think this Franklin team is playing so well right now, coming off a big win 2 weeks ago against Taunton. They beat Attleboro last week 27-6. They're playing with a lot of confidence right now.
Yeah.
And I think this will be a much tougher game for the Shamrocks than I think we would have originally thought at the beginning of the year, seeing how young this Franklin team is.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we're in for a good one, but I feel like this Bishop Feehing team is a very, very physical football team, a very aggressive team. And that defense, a very underrated defense. They have a very solid defense. Big win on the road last week at Bishop Feehing. They were able to, that's not an easy, travel wise, and that's not an easy thing to do to go over there and play those guys who play really well at home. But yeah, this Shamrocks offensively and defensively, I think they're going to wear Franklin out in the second half, and they'll be a little bit more too physical for Franklin.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, look, the thing with Fian is once they get that running game going and they can lean on people, they're tough to beat. Brian Pinnabell wants his teams to be tough. They're going to run the football. They're going to play good defense. They're going to be physical. I think Franklin can hang here for a while, but I think ultimately that physicality is the difference. Give me the Shamrocks in this one as well. All right, next up, we're going to go to the Patriot League. We got Marshfield at Hingham. Hingham's been a pleasant surprise. Another team that when we talk about Division III, Mukala, they're kind of the forgotten team. But TJ Byrne and his staff have done a terrific job getting the Harbormen back on track. Marshfield is starting to play some really good football. They got out of the gate slow. They had graduated a very good senior class last year. It took this team this year some time to get going, but they're going now. They're playing some good football here. They're playing their best football at the right time of the year. But this Hingham team is legit, and I don't think enough people are giving them credit. This should be a pretty good matchup.
Yeah, Marshfield's also getting that ball down the field. They're making a lot of big plays in the pass game, and that sets up their run game in that short yardage goal line red zone situation where they succeeded a lot last week in their matchup last week. So Marshfield, I like how they play. I like the way the quarterback is throwing the ball, and this is losing all those guys. It'll do something, but it seems like these guys are ready to turn the corner and put themselves in a good position for the playoffs. But I do see an upset here. I think Hingham wants to make some noise. And Hingham wants to let everybody know that they are serious and they will be a tough team when postseason comes around. So I'm going with Hingham in the upset in this one.
That's interesting that you call that an upset, because I think a lot of people, based on where these two programs are at right now, I think a lot of people would probably say a Marshfield win would be an upset. But I agree with you. I think this Hingham team is good, and I think a lot of people are going to get to see that more. I'm not sure that win over Duxbury a couple of weeks ago turned enough people into believers here. I think this is an opportunity, because let's be honest, this Marshfield program is a blue blood program in the Patriot League, and another program again that's in Division III. We forget as well. But I think, to your point, Mukala, this is a good opportunity for Hingham to really make a statement here. They made it beating Duxbury. I think beating Marshfield would be another statement for them. I don't like to pick against Chris Aruka. I don't like to pick against this Marshfield team, but I agree with you. I think that this is starting to shape up like it could be Hingham's year. I think they're a sleeper in D3. I think it's going to be another close game. That's kind of my theme for the week. I think it's going to be another close game, but I'm with you. I like Hingham as well.
And with that Duxbury game, it was all that turnover, where Duxbury's going through the transition with the guys they graduated and a lot of young guys playing. So that's probably why that win wouldn't be isn't considered as big as it normally would be, because of the turnover that Duxbury has had.
Right, and I think that's the other part of it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think Duxbury will start to play better here down the stretch. I think they're going to
Yeah.
start to turn it around as well. All right, next up we go to the Bay State League for another great rivalry game. This is a Route 9 matchup. I like to call it the shopping mall matchup, if you will, the old Route 9 Wellesley to Natick matchup here. Natick at Wellesley. Redhawks, they're a legitimate sneaky contender in Division One. Their only losses to King Philip, coming off a bye and then a big win over Brookline. Wellesley, they're looking for a signature win. Another team in Division Two that I think a lot of people might be sleeping on, but Jesse Davis's teams are usually well coached and they're ready to play. I think Natick is a team that could pull off an upset in the second round of these playoffs. It could beat someone that we think could potentially make a run in Division One. But before they do that, they need to go to Wellesley and take care of business against a Raiders team that's well coached, executes on offense, and if you let them hang around, can beat you.
Yeah, Wellesley is looking for that signature win. I just don't think they're going to get it in this one. Natick has been really dominant. Their running game has been really outstanding. It's been tough for teams to stop those guys on the ground. And yeah, and with Division One being the way that it is, I don't think Natick wants to have any slip ups, I should say. So I think they're going to. This is going to be a decisive win for Natick in this one. I just think they're going to be a little bit too much. There's too much at stake for them. And with the way Division One is, as I said, they want to put together a good effort and come out with the win. So I think Natick was going to win this one decisively.
Yeah, look, I think I've coached against Natick this year. I think they're really good up front. I think that they get good quarterback play. They can make big plays. They can run the football. They can win in a variety of ways. I think they're a tough matchup. As I said earlier, I think that this is a team to keep an eye on as potentially upsetting someone along the way in the D1 playoffs that we thought could make a run. Give me Natick here. I think that they win by 14 to 21 points. I think they're legit, man. I really do. And I think King Philip had a really good plan against them, and they executed it rather. But Natick jumped on them early and then almost came back and won. So this is a pretty good team, and I think that they'll flex their muscles a little bit in this one. If nothing else, they win by 10 to 14. But I think that Natick is legit. And like I said, they could sneak up on someone in D1 come playoff time. Don't sleep on them. You are watching the High School Preview Show presented by Gold Athletics. I'm your host, John Sarianides. As always, I'm joined by one of my partners, Mukala Kabongo. Tyler Amaral is on assignment tonight. I do want to remind you, winter and spring coaches, if you're looking for a fundraiser that fits your program, your school, your community, then you need to visit goldathletics.com. Matt Ross and his team have a variety of fundraisers that they can cater to your program and your kids. Visit goldathletics.com today for more information. All right. Next up, we're going to head back north of the city. An intriguing matchup here. Greater Lawrence at Shawsheen. Gustavo Varela is one of the best players that a lot of people have never heard of, but the kid is a dude. This Greater Lawrence program is really good, man. This should be one hell of a matchup.
I got the chance to see Gustavo last year when they came down and played Lynn English, and he's getting like 4. I think that game he had about 40 carries in that game when I saw him last year. And this year is no different. That offense runs through him, and he makes a lot of plays. He's hard to bring down. I think he's on the verge of 2,000 yards or something like that. But this Shawsheen Tech team, oh man, this is one really good all-around football team, offensively and defensively. They got a defensive line that could really create penetration. It's gonna be a little chess match to see which line is gonna dominate, because we know. Everybody knows where the ball's going for the Greater Lawrence. It's going to Gustavo. You could put 10 in the box. They're still gonna run. They're still gonna run their stuff. So, it's gonna be a good one. But I think Shawsheen is just gonna pull out this victory. I think they're a little more balanced and have a little more to deal with offensively.
And Shawsheen, of course, has the state's current longest winning streak. I think they're now they're north of 20 wins. So, and they're primed to be the favorite in Division 5 right now. Division 5, which I think the last couple of years, and I've said this the last few weeks, we've kind of anointed Foxborough in. Division 5 has some pretty good teams. Shawsheen, Archbishop Williams, Foxborough. It's going to be pretty competitive, but I'm with you. I think this Shawsheen team is feeling it, man. They really are. They're feeling it, and I think that this is a program now that not only do they know how to win, but that they from my perspective, they win. They know how to win close games. They're physical. They're tough, and I think that ultimately proves to be the difference. All right, let's go on to our next matchup here. We got Bridgewater Raynham at Dartmouth. Jack Lambert and the Trojans visiting Dartmouth. Of course, Dartmouth, as I mentioned earlier, coming off a tough loss to Barnstable. Still only have one loss. Richard White's squad is still in pretty good position to make a run. When you look at Bridgewater Raynham, of course, they're in Division II. They need to play well here. Their next two games, they have Dartmouth. They have Barnstable. Two big litmus test games for Ian Bain's team heading into the playoffs. Should be a pretty good matchup here. Dartmouth last week really struggled against that Barnstable defense. I think Barnstable up front is probably more talented than BR. My question for Dartmouth is, can they hold up against this passing game? And can they keep up offensively? Because one thing we know about an Ian Bain coached offense, they're going to score points.
Yeah, and they're one of those teams you're gonna have to outscore them. If you're gonna beat them, you have to outscore them because they're gonna put up those points. And can you put up the same amount of points, or can you put up the points that in the fashion that they do with that spread offense? They're liable for quick strike, quick offense, quick touchdown. So, and I think Bridgewater Raynham is one of those teams we talked about during this season. Before the season started, is like a team to keep an eye out on because we talked about the talent, but we weren't sure how they were going to pull it all together. I mean, they did have a tough opening season loss, but since then they've definitely played some really good teams, and they've played some good teams on their schedule this season. So I think they're going to pull this. I believe they're going to pull this one out to set up that matchup with Barnstable.
I'm going to go with Dartmouth in this one. I think Michael Hawk, Aiden Gendron, and company, they'll lead the way offensively. I think that the Indians will bounce back. It'll be a tough game. I think it'll be a good game. And while I see what you're saying, I think you make a lot of valid points, especially about BR's offense. If it ends up being a shootout, yes, it's easy to pick BR in this game. But I'm going to go with Dartmouth. That's a tough place to play. They're going to look to bounce back after last week. They're going to be a team to keep an eye on in D4. They're going to be a player. Give me Dartmouth in that one. All right, next up, we're going to go back north of the city in a really good matchup. Melrose at Wilmington. Wilmington, of course, coming off a big win over Wakefield last week. Should be a really good game. Melrose coming in at 4-2. Coach Morris's squad starting to bounce back after a couple of tough years. A team to keep an eye on. They could be a factor come playoff time. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah. Melrose, they definitely have had some good wins. They beat Swamps. I saw they beat Swampscott earlier. They have them pretty well. So this is a team to not take lightly. But Wilmington, these last couple of weeks, I've been impressed with them these last couple of weeks, especially against Wakefield. That was
a nice win for them last week.
Yeah, and they got contributions everywhere. They got a defensive touchdown, a big man pick six, quarterback. He had a long touchdown run. So Wilmington is kind of hitting on all cylinders right now. I think they're going to carry that momentum into this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Wilmington as well. I agree with you. I think they're playing some really good football right now. And this is a program to keep an eye on come playoff time. But I agree. I think this will be a pretty good matchup. But that Wakefield win, it gets your attention. That's a good Wakefield team. And for Wilmington to beat them the way they did last week, that was impressive. All right, next up, we're going to stay north of Boston. And we've got Pentucket and North Reading. North Reading is another one of those teams in D5. I mentioned Foxborough, I mentioned Archie's, I mentioned Shawsheen, obviously, but in D5, you also have Medfield, who's undefeated, and you have a really good North Reading team. This should be a really good matchup here. How do you see it working out, or playing out, I should say, working
out? North Reading, they've been interesting to me this year. I think they've kind of been flying under the radar, but not flying under the radar. Pentucket, yeah, but I think I'm leaning towards North Reading in this one. I think they've been flying a little under the radar, but I think people should really pay attention to them. They'll probably make some noise in the postseason, but that's a good program over there.
It is. I'm going to go with North Reading as well. And to your point, again, like I said, Division 5 is not as set in stone as it's been the last couple of years. Hanover's another team to keep an eye on.
Yeah,
in D5 as well. But I'm going to go with North Reading as well. Next up, we're going to go back to the Patriot League. Duxbury at Plymouth North. It's hard to believe that Duxbury is at 500 this time of the year. We're not used to seeing that, but it doesn't matter. because if they can win this week, close out the regular season with a win, they can pick up some much needed momentum going into the playoffs. And I think Mukala, we would all universally agree, Duxbury is going to be one of those programs people are not going to want to see in the playoffs.
Yeah, and Duxbury is always that's always how their mindset. Once they get into playoffs, don't count them out because they got the experience, they got the coaching, they have a winning formula in the way they play. They play football. They play solid playoff football in the way they run their offense. So Duxbury is one of those teams. I think once they get in, they're gonna be they're gonna be trouble for a lot of teams. And Plymouth North is gonna have some issues dealing with them this upcoming game. So I'm going with Duxbury in this one.
Yeah, I'm going with the Dragons too. I think that they're gonna wrap up, I should say, the regular season with a couple of strong performances here. As I mentioned, I think they're going to build some momentum going into the playoffs, and they're going to be that team. And again, the one thing with Duxbury is you're talking about a program with history, tradition. They've been regulars at Gillette. The uniform matters come playoff time, especially if you match up against a team at the top that may not be used to having success up until this year, up until the last couple of years. Duxbury's not a team you're going to want to see in the playoffs. So for me, I think they get a big win this week, and I think they build some momentum going into November. Next up, we have a really good Central Mass matchup, West Boylston at Hudson. Contrast in styles here. You got Mike Ross and his Lions. They love to grind it out in that double wing offense. Dominic Renzoni, one of the best backs in the league, going up against a Hudson team that likes to spread it out and throw it. Zach Attaway's done a great job there with the Hawks. How do you see this one playing out?
The matchup of the matchup of state champs in this one, Hudson and West Boylston. West Boylston, I'm sure they want to bounce back. They lost. It was Clinton they played last week, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, that was a low scoring affair in that matchup. So I think they want to put together a better effort. Hudson, they're a unique team, and with their offense, the spread offense, they like to get that toss that ball around against a running attack. So time management, time of possession, West Boylston want to control that. But West Boylston, I think they'll bounce back from last week's loss to Clinton. And Renzoni's going to have a better game.
Yeah. I think it's look, we're not used to seeing this West Boylston team lose much in recent years. I mean, like I said, Mike Ross has done a tremendous job. They're going for their fourth in a row in D8. They're going to be a tough out just because they're physical, they're well coached, and while their offense gets all the attention, their defense is pretty good too. Last week was a surprise, but I'm with you. I think they bounce back. They'll play a little bit of keep away here against Hudson. They'll be able to control the clock, control the ball, and I think ultimately they'll pull it out. It'll be a close game. I could see it being a 22-18 kind of game, but I'm with you. Give me the Lions here. I like West Boylston. All right, next up we have the best knapsack matchup of the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
This is a heavyweight fight. We've got Avon Old Farms at Dexter Southfield. This is going to be a great matchup for two reasons. One, it's just a great matchup between two undefeated programs. But two, there's a lot of FBS talent that's going to be on the field here for this game. You got Matt Bear at quarterback for Avon Old Farms. You got Rory Funk at quarterback for Dexter Southfield. Buck Craig at running back for Avon Old Farms. Mason Leak coming off the edge defensively for the Wing Beavers. I mean, Hannafin playing wide receiver at Dexter Southfield, the West Virginia commit. U-Haul playing along the offense and defensive line for Casey Day's squad. This is going to be a tremendous matchup. This is a tough one to call, Mukala.
This is definitely a tough one. And Avon Old Farms, they might be considered behind Tabor. They might be considered the best team around.
Right now in our chaos poll, we have them at 2. Yep.
Yeah. So we got the quarterbacks, Bear and Fug. We got the talent all around. I'm actually going to this game. I'm gonna go up and check this game out because it's en route to where I will be that day. I
believe you're covering that one for us, aren't you?
Am I? I probably am. I don't know. I know I'm covering Andover and Central Catholic, but probably.
I was going to say, I mean, if nothing else, if you're going to be there, you might as well.
Yeah. So this is it's gonna be fun. I mean, last week I saw some ISL action. It was a nail biter between Milton Academy.
Great coverage of that game. Yep.
BB&N. And I'm just gonna expect more of the same in this one between these two teams. I'm gonna go with Avon Old Farms though. I think the talent they just have a little bit more than Dexter Southfield. That team is loaded, and when you're put in the same category with Tabor, that just lets you know how good of a team you are.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Avon Old Farms when I saw him a few weeks ago against BB&N. And while I think Dexter is probably, well, they are more skilled than BB&N, I think ultimately what it comes down to is that Avon Old Farms team is impressive. John Hooley's done a terrific job building that roster. Bear is one of the best quarterbacks in New England. If you haven't seen this kid play, he's phenomenal. When I saw him against BB&N, he had racked up 5 total touchdowns, 3 passing, 2 rushing. I agree with you. This Avon Old Farms team is legit. We have them as a number 2 team in our chaos poll for a reason. I think Dexter hangs with them. They can easily play with them. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. But I lean Avon Old Farms as well. All right, we're going to go around New England. Go ahead.
Tim is covering this game.
Tim, okay. Well, you're going to be there, so whatever.
Yeah. Double coverage.
Yeah, there you go. All right, next up we have we're going to go down to Connecticut for what's probably the best game outside of maybe that Avon Dexter game, is probably the best game of the weekend in the region, and that's Greenwich at New Canaan. Traditional rivalry game, 2 undefeated teams, a Class LL versus Class L matchup. Should be a fantastic game between 2 teams that, of course, won the state title in their respective Class LL and L last year. Both graduated a lot of talent, both return a lot of talent. Should be a fun matchup here down in the Nutmeg State.
That's a good part when you have a great program.
It's 1 versus 2.
Right, and the revolving door of talent. So you know, when you graduate some great players, you got another wave of players to come in. And me not being too familiar with both of these teams, I'm gonna go with New Canaan in this one. I have to pick the home team. That's the default for me when I'm not.
That's the Mukala Kabongo default.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with New Canaan as well. It's hard to pick against Lou Marinelli's squad. But one thing I'll say about this Greenwich team, they play really good defense. And we saw a couple of weeks ago, New Canaan in that game against St. Joe's, you know, they weren't as good as they normally are offensively. And St. Joe's is good. St. Joe's is a big one on Saturday against Darien. But I'm going to go New Canaan. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair because I do think Greenwich can slow down this offense. The question is, can the Cardinals score enough to win this game? It's really hard with how good New Canaan has been the last few years to pick against them. I'm not about to start that trend here. I do think it'll be a low-scoring game, a 21-18 kind of game, maybe even lower scoring than that, a 16-14 kind of game. Give me New Canaan in what should be a terrific game. Our Craig Boland is going to be there for that one. All right, next up, we're going to go up to Maine. Another great matchup, heavyweight matchup in Class A. Thornton Academy at Bonnie Eagle. Thornton Academy only has 1 loss, and that was to Bedford out of New Hampshire. Bonnie Eagle undefeated, coming off an impressive win a couple of weeks ago over Portland, 34-7. Scots are playing as well as we've seen them play in the last few years. This should be a really good matchup, but I got to tell you, Mukala, this is Thornton Academy's time of the year. I have a really hard time here picking against the Trojans, man. And again, I don't want to take anything away from Bonnie Eagle. They've been playing some fantastic football this season. But Mauricio Sunderland, that running game, it's hard to pick against Thornton Academy.
Yeah, and when a team like Thornton Academy around this time, when we're starting to inch closer to the playoff time, we see them rounding up into full form of how they really are of a team. And we've seen, history tells us that they're setting themselves up for that postseason run. And you know, Bonnie Eagle will show a lot of fight, but Thornton Academy will just overwhelm them with the talent, the experience. They're the better team. So I'm going to go with, and as you said, you can't go against Thornton Academy.
You know, Thornton Academy has been the standard for such a long time up in Maine. And I agree with you. Look, Bonnie Eagle has a lot to prove in this one. And Bonnie Eagle for a long time was a power program up in Maine. And they still are. And look, if they beat Thornton, I mean, obviously now you'd have to make them the favorite heading into the playoffs in Class A. Right. I think it's going to be a really good game. I could see it being a high-scoring game, but Thornton has been dominant of late. They've really turned it on since that Bedford loss. I'm going with Thornton as well. Speaking of Bedford, next up we're going to go up to New Hampshire. Great Division I matchup. Bedford at Londonderry. Should be a fantastic matchup here. Of course, Londonderry picking up a big win in Massachusetts a couple weeks ago down in Duxbury. Bedford is really starting to look like the best Division I team in New Hampshire once again. Should be a really good game, but man, look, one thing that I've learned through the years covering this Londonderry program is Jimmy Lazan gets these guys ready to play, man. They'll be up for this game. And while they lost to Pinkerton earlier this year, they can make amends with a win here. How do you see this game playing out?
I see another very competitive football game, but I think just like the previous game we just talked about, I just think Bedford is gonna they're setting themselves up for that postseason run, and this is what I hate to repeat myself, but this is the time of the season where we see teams that continually make deep postseason runs get into form of what they are, and I just think Bedford is still the elite, the class of class A of everybody. So good effort by Londonderry, but I think Bedford will be too much for them. Bedford will pull this one out.
Yeah, I mean, again, look, I think Londonderry can hang here. They'll be at home. They've built some really nice momentum here in the last few weeks, but it's hard to pick against Zach Matthews' squad right now. They're playing some really good football. And the thing with Bedford is, I hate to say it, but as good as they've been the last 3 years, for whatever reason, you talk about, quote, programs that fly under the radar. They're a program that people just expect to win, and they live up to the expectation. They didn't last year. They didn't close out. They had a chance to go for 3 in a row, but I think they're back on track this year. Despite graduating a talented senior class last year, they're locked and loaded. This is going to be a good game. I think Londonderry can hang with them, but I'm going Bedford here. All right, let's go down to the Ocean State here. Couple matchups to look at in Rhode Island real quick. Charahoe at Portsmouth. The Patriots come into this one undefeated. They need to win, and they should win because they got a big one the following week against Bishop Hendricken, who has a bye this week. Charahoe at Portsmouth, how do you see this one shaking out?
Uh, uh, all right, so you said they got a big one with Bishop Hendricken next week.
Portsmouth is undefeated. Next week they close out the season with Bishop Hendricken at Hendricken.
Okay, Bishop Hendricken. Okay, so for Portsmouth, you don't want to overlook because it's easy for teenagers to kind of look ahead to who they got coming up, right? So I think they'll be focused in this one. Still undefeated, so you want to take that undefeated record into next week and try to make a big statement next week. So with all that at stake, I think Portsmouth is going to come out and win this one.
Yeah, I like the Patriots in this one as well. I don't think they're going to look ahead. They're the better team here. I think they get it done, setting up a huge matchup against Hendricken next week. Another big game this weekend down in Rhode Island takes place Saturday evening. Pontigansett at Classical. Both teams 6-0. Pontigansett has been a nice story. Classical, you'd think after losing Jordan Duke, they might slow down. They have been. The Purple have been just as good. I like Classical in that one. Should be a really good matchup, though. That Pontigansett team is a team to keep an eye on as we head into the playoffs in Rhode Island. You got a prediction there? Pontigansett Classical?
Let
me guess, you're going to go home team.
No, I'm going to go with is Pontigansett the home team?
Nope, Classical is.
So our rivals here is Lynn Classical, and I just can't pick anything that has Classical in it. So I'm going to go with Pontigansett.
So you're going Pontigansett?
Yes.
All right, and finally, we're going to go up to Vermont. Best matchup of the weekend up in Vermont is Linden at St. Johnsbury. Hartford has established itself as the best team in Vermont so far this year. This is the last regular season game of the season. Hard to believe in Vermont. Their playoffs begin next weekend. Hartford has been the cream of the crop in Vermont so far this season, but St. Johnsbury looks like they're poised to be the best team in D1. D1 is wide open. You got St. Johnsbury, you got Burton, you got Middlebury. Should be a fun playoff bracket. But St. Johnsbury, to me, has kind of sort of been flying under the radar all year. They're playing some pretty good football right now. I'm going to pick them here. I think they're going to go into the playoffs with some momentum.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to piggyback off that. I'm going to pick them as well. They want to finish the season on a high note, and go into postseason play with knowing they just got a victory. That'll carry over and have them feeling good. The practice leading up to their first postseason game. So I'll go with St. Johnsbury.
Yeah, and of course, as I mentioned, the Vermont playoffs begin next week. We'll preview all the matchups up there. We'll also give you our predictions for each division. There's only 3 of them. I'm going to tell you who we think will ultimately win out in all 3. Again, the Vermont high school playoffs begin next week. All right, Mukala, any final thoughts here before we put a bow on it?
There's a lot of teams that still got a lot to play for. Conference titles are still at play. I know Catholic Memorial lost last week, but they're still in a good position for that Catholic conference.
Yeah, they got a big one next week against the Prep.
Yeah, big one next week. They got St. John Shrewsbury this week. Zavarian as well. They've put themselves in a really good position with that win last week. They're hosting BC High, who picked up a much needed win. So Catholic Conference is still going to come down to probably the end of the season, even with some of the games that happened last week. So still a lot of great matchups, though. A lot of great matchups. Lynn Classical and Somerville in a Greater Boston League matchup. That'll have some implications for that regular season crown. Classical, Lynn Classical on a 3-game winning streak. Somerville has played really well. After that loss to Malden, they've played really well. I think they're 5-1 coming into this game, and they're right behind Lynn English in that Greater Boston League for that one. And Lynn Tech and Whittier Tech, that's a big one this weekend for the CAC conference. Whittier Tech coming off a big win over Kip Academy, their first over Kip Academy in program history. Coach Bradley rang the bell that morning, and the team got the win. So Whittier Tech got a lot of good things happening with them. So those some of the other matchups. Yeah, some of the those are some of the other matchups to watch out for around the state.
And before I let you go, where are you going to be tomorrow night? You got a game that you are going to be attending?
I will be covering Andover and Central Catholic. That's the game I will be covering.
Oh, that's right. That game is tomorrow night, not Friday night. My bad.
No, actually, my bad. That game's Friday. Tomorrow, I'll be in Abington. You're right. I thought today was Thursday. I honestly thought today was Thursday.
No. Today is Wednesday. We always do the show on Wednesday.
I know. I will be in Abington for their matchup against Rockland.
Okay. Awesome. Good stuff as always. Well, that'll do it for this week's episode of the High School Preview Show. From Mukala, Kabongo, I'm John Sarianides. We will be back with you next week. Until then, get out there and enjoy the games. Peace.
Good one.